Hi everyone, how are you? Wherever you are in the world, welcome to the Network Migration webinar on New Zealand tonight. Tonight, my time anyway. Just to introduce myself, my name is Andrew Kerr. I'm the owner and licensed advisor of Network Migration Services. I've been a licensed advisor since it became mandatory back in 2007 or 9. I can't remember the exact dates. But the processes for New Zealand are potentially changing slightly, and we've had quite a few panicked emails from clients and potential clients over the weekend. So I'm going to do a slightly different webinar tonight, but I just wanted to welcome you tonight. As I said, I'm a licensed advisor. I own Network Migration Services. I've been immigrating people for over 30 years. I'm proud to say we've done, 18,000 families, predominantly from Africa, especially for those first sort of 20 odd years. But in the last 10 years, with the advent of technology, we've got clients all over the world, as far away as China and the UK, the Philippines and Canada. So there's really not anybody in this world that we cannot assist. Everything we do, or 99% of what we do, is electronic. And as long as you have an email address and a contact number, we're able to work with you no matter where you are. We've got 150 odd people listening to us tonight. I just wanted to say a couple of thank yous. First of all, welcome to Desiree Lindeque. Desiree is our worldwide operations manager, even though she's based in New Zealand for the last year or so. Desiree is also a provisionally licensed advisor, working under myself. Although, quite frankly, Desiree is frankly outstanding. She's one of the best employees, and I don't like calling it out, one of my colleagues that I've ever had in my entire career. So welcome to Desiree. Thank you. Desiree will be answering a lot of your questions tonight, because clearly if you're answering questions and it's to do with immigration advice, it has to come from a licensed or provisionally licensed advisor. So because I'll be doing a lot of the talking, I won't be looking at the chat room a lot. So Desiree will be answering your questions, especially on the migration side of it, rules and regulations. Thank you to Ruan. Ruan is our marketing manager. Ruan handles all our marketing between here and New Zealand and Australia, and sets up these meetings every couple of weeks. So thank you very much for Ruan for setting it all up. Welcome to Liz. Liz Filuen is our also becoming a provisionally licensed advisor. Already started that process. It's a 3-year process, believe it or not. And it's a difficult process to become a licensed advisor, especially nowadays. It was a little bit easier when I did it a few years ago, but nowadays it's like going through a couple of degrees, quite frankly, and rightly so, because it protects you as the consumer. So welcome to Liz. And Liz is also head of our HR department. She's our HR manager, and she runs our HR company. We have our own recruitment company based in New Zealand as well, to help our clients with that very all-important job offer that pretty much everybody needs. I'll just enlarge this for a second if I can. There it is. So just a quick thank you to some of our service providers. We have 3 basic divisions within Network Migration. One is the division that does all the visa work, of course, myself and my team and Desiree. The team, we prepare and submit all the relevant applications for each stage to the Immigration New Zealand, of course, NZQAs if we need them. All the relevant authorities, we literally prepare and we submit those applications between Desiree and myself, and of course the file management team. And we've got an outstanding team of people that work for the company. I'm very, very proud to say that. We take this matter extremely seriously. This is your life where people are talking about. And we believe we take that as seriously as you do. So that's the visa division that does all the visa work, both here and in New Zealand. The relocation division, which is run by Rose Nightingale. Rose is my life partner, my wife. She won't be joining us tonight. She's making some sushi for later on this evening. Anyway, so Rose runs relocations, and you'll see on the first page there, Animal Travels, Bidoffs, of course, Pearson's, the Language Centre, Migrate Motors for selling cars, Point-to-Point Capital, Evan Brown and his team. And when it comes to opening bank accounts and shifting monies, we're partners with the banks, both in Australia and New Zealand. So there's not physically anything we can't help you with, from meeting at airports to sending money, from sending your furry friends over there, of course, to arranging, of course, for your furniture to go. So you'd be contacting Rose. By the way, all our emails are our first names at networkmigration.com. Andrew at networkmigration.com, Desiree at networkmigration.com, etc., etc. And then, of course, a big and very important division that we as a company have spent a lot of time, money, and effort on is our job search and job search marketing and job search training division. We have a full-on trainer, Xenia, who trains you on, of course, the processes and procedures for getting into New Zealand, on how CVs are written. In fact, we write the CVs. We'll do your LinkedIn profiles. Xenia will go through many hours of training with you. Depending on what you need, you're scheduled for over 5 hours of training with Xenia. Some of it's video training, of course, but a lot of it, especially for 2 hours, 2-3 hours, is face-to-face over Zoom, Skype, Teams, or Google Meet, or of course face-to-face. If you're in Johannesburg, you can come on into our offices and spend time with Xenia. So she'll introduce you to, of course, the process for getting jobs in New Zealand. And then, of course, Liz is an extremely important contact for you, because she'll be working with you, and I stress that, with you, to market your CVs. So you can't just sit at home and expect to get a job offer. You've got to work with us. You've got to work with us, on a daily and nightly basis, of course, to obtain that very important offer of employment. So thank you to our service providers. You'll see I'm a member of the New Zealand Association for Migration and Investment as well. They're a body that is a bit of a link between us and the Minister, which frankly is quite necessary at the moment. I'll explain that in a minute. And then, of course, I am registered with the Immigration Advisors Authority. My registration, there it is. It became mandatory in 2009. So for the last 14 odd years, I have been licensed because it was mandatory. Before that, it wasn't mandatory, so you didn't have to be licensed. But now it is. So if you're going to use an advisor, for God's sake, make sure they're licensed. Especially that initial consultation. Make sure the person you are speaking to is a licensed advisor, or often I will do a consult, for example, with Liz, because she's going to talk about job search and job training and how that works, but I will be giving mostly the immigration advice, while Liz, of course, will be talking about that all important job offer. So just make sure that whoever you're going to contact, ladies and gentlemen, I know most of you are shopping around at the moment, as you should, but please make sure you feel comfortable with the company you're going to use, and make sure that initial contact is always with a licensed advisor. Okay, so if you just go back to here, I've just reduced that because I want to see in the chat room. So if you've got a question, put it into the chat room. As I said, Liz or Des will answer those questions. If it's on immigration advice, Desiree will, of course, do that, but it's on job hunting and job search advice, of course, Liz will answer that. If you want a consultation with me, they're free. They don't cost anything. We're considering starting to charge again. We did charge pre-COVID. Wasn't a lot. Most companies in New Zealand, for example, charge between $200 and $350 for a consultation, dollars, which in South African rands, of course, is between 2.5 and 3.5, 4,000 rand. Even prior to COVID, we were charging 850 rand, which is about $70. And we're not doing that yet, but we are considering doing it again because, of course, with all due respect, time is valuable. And at the moment, I'm giving 40 hours a week free time to people consultation-wise. I certainly don't mind doing that. I really don't. But we're considering starting to charge again for consults in the next 1 to 3 months. So if you want a free consult, then I would suggest you have it in the next, 1 to 6 weeks, because at the moment we're not charging for consults. So if you want to be assessed, or if you've got any specific questions, sorry, it's quite cold in the office, but I'm getting quite hot now. So if you want to be assessed, assessments are free. So when you send us your CVs, as Ruan pointed out earlier, please just send me your CV with your structures of your family. So I'm 45 years old. I'm not, I'm older. I'm 45-year-old. My wife is 42. We have a 16 and a 14-year-old. I need to know the structures of your family in order to quote you correctly on the processes that you may or may not need and require. And our quoting system is basically a tick-a-box system where you'll tick the services you require, which are openly quoted to you, and they're based on the New Zealand dollar. So just use a Google calculator wherever you are in the world, of course, for example, I didn't check today, but the New Zealand dollar in rand terms fluctuates over somewhere between 11 and 11.40, 11.50 to the rand. So if you're coming from Africa, you're going to a dollar-based economy. So this is clearly quite an expensive exercise. So you need to be able to budget for you. Okay, so Gilbert, I am going to be going through the new changes now. Okay, so I'm going to be doing all that, Renia. I'm going to be going through all of that now, so we can I'll give you a basic understanding of how the process works. So let's just start getting into a couple of slides here. And as I said, feel free to ask some questions. So I'm just going to make them bigger, which means I won't be able to see the chat room. So if you've got the chats, as I said, Desiree or Liz will be answering you. No problem, Renia. So about us, we've been around for 30 years, guys. I mean, I joined this company in 1990 when I came to, I am a Kiwi, by the way. I'm a New Zealander. Congratulations to those South Africans who hold the Rugby World Cup at the moment. Well done. So we'll get that one out of the way straight away. But yeah, I am a Kiwi. I moved to Australia when I was in my early 20s. I lived in Australia for 10 years. I loved Australia. By the way, I'm also licensed for Australia as well. So if you want immigration advice on Australia, please let me know. And I came to South Africa on a contract with a publishing house in 1990, just because Mr. Mandela was being released. This American company wanted to open up their branches again. So myself and a colleague came over here. And in those first 2 years, not only did we actually both get married, in fact, he married Miss South Africa, but our contracts ran out at the end of 2 years. So I joined Network Migration as a seminar presenter because I was excited about it at the time. It was specifically just talking about Australia in those days. And then in 1996, I actually bought the business. I had an opportunity to purchase the franchise, which I did. And I'm very proud to say that over the last 30 odd years, as I said, we've immigrated 18,000 families with a success rate of over 99%. There's really no reason we should fail, as long as, of course, you're basically healthy. You don't have any major health issues. So if you do have any health problems, please let me know privately, of course. And if you do have any major criminal records, please also let me know, because they're really the only two reasons you wouldn't make it if you have a pathway to getting a job and, of course, potentially a pathway to residency as well. So that's a bit about us, clearly registered as an organisation both here and in New Zealand. We also have, as I mentioned, a recruitment company that's registered in New Zealand as well. I'm going to go through the New Zealand visa and points a little bit later. This is going to take about another 20, 25 minutes, because I'm going to get straight to it. Our relocation partners, you'd contact Rose for that information, and all those services are free. If you want to find out what a quote on furniture or a pet or shifting money or whatever, all of our service providers will give you that information and that type of quotes, etc., for free. And question and answers we can go through as the evening does progress. Done that already. That's me a couple of years ago. Licensed, as you can see, for Australia and New Zealand. I love my home country. I was there over Christmas with Rose, saw my daughter. My daughter's an occupational therapist. She's working in Auckland and Middlemore Hospital. Was really happy to see Sabrina. And I love my country. For the first time in many years, bar COVID, of course, I flew back every year. And when I hopped on a plane to come back to South Africa, even though I love South Africa, and frankly, if South Africa had its SHIT together, nobody would leave, because it's an outstanding country. But we have internal problems that we're all well aware of, and that's why we're listening to me tonight. Anyway, I love South Africa, but there are, as I said, reasons to potentially look at immigrating. And for the first time when I hopped on a plane and came back to South Africa, I felt like I was leaving home, not to come home. So I do love my country. It's a fantastic country. It's gone through its ups and downs in the past 6 or 7 years through to a government change. And I'm personally extremely happy now that National runs the country, not Labor. It's my personal opinion, and I'm clearly giving it to you. All right. So, yeah, I mean, clearly it's one of the prettiest countries in the world, bar the fact that we don't hold the World Cup at the moment. We'll look forward to meeting you in the final, you South Africans, in 4 years' time in Australia, by the way, which will be fun. So there's not a visa on the planet that we don't do. There really isn't. From a visitor's visa for holiday, from a visitor's visa to job search, from skilled migrant, student, entrepreneur, business, accredited employer work visas, which we're going to talk about tonight, etc. As you saw, spousal, parent, grandparent, permanent residency for those of you who are already on shore. There's really not a visa that we cannot assist you with and quote you accordingly. And I know what other companies are charging, and I'm not decrying them at all. There are many licensed advisors out there, a lot of them quite small. We have a staff content of over 20 people. So we are quite literally the one-stop shop, but we're still extremely competitively priced. We even come under a bit, what other agencies potentially charge. So if you are shopping around, do have a look at the prices that we do send you, because I know for a fact that we are incredibly fairly priced, especially when it comes to finding a rand-dollar exchange rate, which hurts quite a lot. I need you to listen to this, and then I'm going to show you a slide, and then I'm going to talk about potential changes before I show you how you get residency. Please just have a listen to this.
Where no New Zealanders are available for a job, employers can hire a skilled migrant worker using the Accredited Employer Work Visa, or AEWV. Before inviting a migrant to apply for an AEWV, employers must become accredited with Immigration New Zealand and complete a job check for the role they want to fill. This means migrant workers can have more confidence about the role they're coming to New Zealand for. To gain accreditation, an employer must be a genuine business in a good financial position and have no recent history of breaching employment or immigration law or business standards. The job check confirms that the job pays the market rate and the terms and conditions of the contract comply with New Zealand's employment standards. Before applying for a job check, employers need to advertise most roles to prove there are no New Zealand citizens or residents available for the job. After an employer's job check has been approved, you will be sent an email containing a link and a job check token. This means you can access the online portal and apply for your visa. The application process is all done online, where you will fill in your details and upload supporting documentation. Immigration New Zealand will check if you meet the requirements for the AEWV and that you have the skills and experience the employer is seeking. Once you are employed, your employer must provide you with information to help you settle into life in New Zealand and to give you time to complete Employment New Zealand's online modules on employment rights while you are at work. The AEWV is designed to ensure only good employers can hire migrant workers and helps prevent migrant exploitation. More information about the AEWV is on our website.
We're back. You can see
are we back? Okay, cool. I don't know why we lost me, but anyway, thanks, Ruan. Sorry, if we're back, Ruan just called me and said I'd lost you for a minute. My apologies. I don't know why, and I don't know what's happened because I've got a big camera in front of me. Let me just call him again. Hold on.
Andrew?
Can you see the slides or me?
I can't see the slides yet, so you might need to just share your screen again.
Okay. Well, you know me in technology, Ron. So I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do that. Hold on. Share. There we are.
Hold me quickly and then. Okay.
Well, hold on. I'm on video. Sorry, guys. I know you're listening to this, but it just shows you that we are. Okay. Can you see me or the screen?
I can't see you yet. Oh, there we go. I can see you now.
Okay. Let me reverse it.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me reverse. So I've got me on big one screen and the slides on the other. So I've got share something here and I'm trying to share it. Screen. Oh, there we are. Should happen now, mate.
Yeah. That should.
Are we back?
Yeah, there we go. I can see it.
Okay, thanks, Ron.
Perfect.
Cheers, man. Bye.
All right.
Bye. Sorry about that, guys. Let me just get through to the slides. Okay, so we were talking about this particular slide at the moment, and I'm okay. Thanks, Gilbert. Right, so I'm just going to make this bigger again, guys. Right. In the last few years, New Zealand let in, surprisingly, 175,000 immigrants. And they normally let in about 55,000 a year, and it just got out of hand. And this certainly wasn't the current government's fault, because the majority, I think the percentage was 49%, might have even been higher, of the migrants they'd let in were ANZCO skill level 4 and 5s. Now, ANZCO stands for the Australia New Zealand Standard Classification of Your Occupation, which ANZCO's 4 and 5, with respect, are normally lower skilled occupations. So clearly they were letting in a lot of, and nationalities aside, but, Filipinos and people from Manila, from Asia specifically, coming in to do low skilled work, like fruit picking, and that type of stuff. That's not really, yes, there's seasonal visas like that, but that's not really what the immigration process is all about. New Zealand wants skilled migrants, skilled based on your work experience or based on your qualification, or in some cases, a mixture of both. So what this particular slide is talking about is New Zealand immigration are now, effective yesterday or Monday, are going to go back to really scrutinising the employer, for one. There's 33,000 accredited employers in New Zealand, but some of them have been caught exploiting migrants. Thankfully, in 30 years, I'm proud to say we haven't been involved in that type of exploitation at all, and we wouldn't be. But there are some unscrupulous people out there. But so we're only going to deal with an employer that's legit, that's going to treat you properly, etc., etc. So what immigration are now going to do is not only are they going to scrutinise the accredited employer registration process from the employer's perspective, but they're going to scrutinise the job in more detail that you're applying for, and you and your qualifications and or work experience, in other words, to make sure you can do the job you're applying for. And what that means is you're going to have to submit a lot more documentation that you're currently needing to submit. It's pretty much sort of going back to the old way, the old SMC skilled migrant category, where you had to prove not only that you were capable of doing the job, i.e. by way of your qualification, and or work experience, but you're going to have to show details of that now. And you didn't have to for the last 18 months because, you got the job, you met the job requirements, the job token was emailed to you, bang, A for away. Well, now that's not going to fly. You're going to have to supply a lot more information to Immigration New Zealand in order to get this process expedited and processed as fast as possible. So I hope you've taken a screenshot of that page. Let's go to the next one. So employer obligations are changing, and they're going to be scrutinised a lot more by immigration, which I've just talked about. The job checks I've just talked about as well, a substantial match. So you, as the individual, have really got to match that job offer. Okay? So again, this is our job. If you're engaging us, this is our job to make sure, of course, that these things are done successfully. And then, of course, genuine attempts to recruit, not only, of course, locals, to prove, of course, to immigration that they can't find a local for that position, but again, making sure that you are the best candidate for that job. And with all due respect, that's our job, guys. That's what we do. And our success rate, and I'm not exaggerating, is over 99%. So if you're going to engage an agency, just make sure that they're going to do everything from beginning to end, not just send you a checklist and then say, right, when you get the job offer, come back to us. All right. We hold your hand from beginning to end. So employer obligations stronger, job checks substantial match, and genuine attempt to recruit. Okay. Moving on to the next one. Job checks and supporting evidence. This is mainly to do with 4 or 5, ANSCO skill level 4 or 5s. We do have a few clients on ANSCO skills level 4 and 5, but not many, because frankly, they're harder to get a residency pathway from. And then the skills threshold is a part of the accredited employer's application. Irrelevant of the job check requirements, applicants must show at least 3 years of relevant industry experience. And this is what's hurt us when it comes to the corrections at the moment, which I'll talk. We've got a couple of clients I got a client on Friday night that's being interviewed by corrections. But before, they were hiring people that didn't necessarily have, for example, a background in corrections, the correctional institutes, the prisons, for example, or anything in that industry. Now, as you can see here, you won't be able to hire a person that doesn't have relevant skill sets, either by way of qualifications or by way of the work experience. And then, of course, okay, so again, skills thresholds, as I've said, are going to be made a little bit more difficult to reach. Hence the fact that, respectfully, whoever you use, make sure you're using somebody who knows what they're doing. All right. English language requirements, applicants applying for skills level 4 and 5. Now it's compulsory for them to sit English language up front. You didn't have to do that before. This, by the way, does not affect ANSCO skill level 1, 2, and 3 at this stage. You can still get in and do your English test on shore if you're doing it that way most of the time, unless, of course, your English is required for registration, like with some teachers, etc. All right. And then accredited employer work visa lengths and maximum stays. So as you can see, they're salary based. So again, I'm not going to run through every I dot and T crossed here. Hopefully you've taken screenshots of that. And or you'll contact me for some clarification on this, as my clients are currently are. And the balance of the 5-year accredited employer work visa, no new blah, blah, blah. So this is just information as published by INZ and as agreed to by the Minister of Immigration at this stage. I do believe there'll be more changes, and I'll explain why in just a second. Aid in processing times. Now, frankly, ladies and gentlemen, this is insane. All right. And this is published processing times as of Sunday. I do not see how they're going to be able to stick to this and maintain a steady level of migrants going into New Zealand as New Zealand needs migrants. Basically, you're asking an employer to wait 2.5, well, nearly 3.5 months for you. I was speaking to Liz earlier. I think what's happened is because immigration are now going to be needing to do a lot more work when it comes to verifying your bona fides as an individual immigrating with yourself and your family. They've just no, that's an insulting thing to say. They've just thrown a processing time out there where they know they will be able to achieve those goals. I would be extremely surprised if 14 weeks for an accredited employer work visa is stuck to, for reasons that, one, a lot of people have to fly to New Zealand to find a job, which means that you get the job within the first couple of weeks normally, or first 3 weeks, and then you're waiting 3 months for the visa to be granted, where normally you'd wait 3 to 5 weeks. All right. So what are you going to do for those 3 months? You're not allowed to work. All right. So you'd have to budget for staying 3 months in New Zealand if they stick to these times. And I really don't believe they will. I think that they'll depending on how the application is submitted, and clearly if you're submitting the so-called perfect application, then it should be processed faster. And I'm going to use an example, and Liz will shoot me for this, but I'm going to do it anyway. Working closely with Liz lately, we've been monitoring the applications that we've been submitting, and Liz and I have been preparing. And most of our applications where the processing time has been between 3 to 5 weeks, we're getting approved in a week. I'm not saying that's the norm, but I do believe that it's also an industry standard. I mean, we've been doing this for 30 years. So I'd like to think that INZ, well, I know they know who we are, clearly, because we've done thousands of applications. But I'd like to think that when they see an application from a company or organization where they know, does as close as can possibly be the perfect application, their checking system would be faster. Because they know that they're going to be able to go here and check that, and there and check that, and there and check that, etc. So the checking systems should be faster, because we will supply them all the necessary information to make the application, hopefully as fast-tracked as possible. Now, one thing that is slightly quite annoying is bus and truck drivers at the moment. The minister was going to, there was a mention in a press release on Monday that particular sector was full. I don't agree with that, and I don't agree with that because our truck drivers are still being interviewed at the moment. And of course, so are our corrections people still being interviewed. Now, listen, I'm not in New Zealand. I don't run the transport sector, but I was in New Zealand over Christmas, and the buses on their digital destination things that they have on the front and the side were advertising for bus drivers. Come learn how to drive a bus while we pay you. So if that's been sorted out in the last 8 weeks, I'd be extremely surprised. And what was a little disappointing, and I'm going to be very open here, is the minister was going to have a meeting with the New Zealand Association for Migration and Investment in March and hopefully take some of NZAMI's suggestions on board. Well, that meeting never eventuated. And in an article I read from NZAMI this morning, they were quite disappointed about that because, let's face it, we're the players in the industry. We know what's going on. We're not making ministerial decisions, of course, but we are able to advise on what we believe is good and bad for the country. And I'm not sure where that advice has been coming from regarding the transport sector. Anyway, that's my opinion. Right. So it doesn't mean you can't get a job as a truck driver at all. But the pathway to residency is changing for you, or at the moment, there used to be a specific transport sector pathway to residency, and she has taken that away. But this is hopefully up for review because I would like to think that there will be a pathway to residency after that 5-year work visa has been granted. Okay. So I'll discuss processing times with you personally as and when you contact me, guys. Right, straight to residency, occupations added to the green list tier 1. Again, aircraft maintenance engineers, I was extremely surprised about because we've always found them quite difficult to get jobs in New Zealand, but with INZ is saying that there's a major shortage. So those 6 odd occupations at the top here have been added to Green List Tier 1. I'll talk about what Green List Tier 1 is in a second. And secondary school teachers have been, as of May, are being included on Green List Tier 1. But careful consideration on how this information is provided because at the moment we don't have the legislative instrument on that. So we've been told secondary school teachers are being added to Green List Tier 1 as of May, but we've got no legislative documents. So again, we've just been told that. So we are advising you accordingly, but we can't 100% give you the legislative instruments or pathways on that at this stage. Work to residence Tier 2, we've already talked about that. Okay, so now let's come back to that all-important job offer. Let's assume you've got a job offer in New Zealand and you're an ANSCO skill level 1 to 3, you need to be earning $29.66 an hour. If you're an ANSCO 4 to 5 and you want a residency pathway, you need to be earning $44.49 an hour. And that's based on a 40-hour week and based on multiplying 40 hours a week by 52 weeks a year. And that's where you get up with $69,000 or just under $62,000 a year. So if you're an ANSCO 1 to 3 and you're earning less than $62,000 a year, you're not going to get it. They'll decline the application. By the way, if you're an ANSCO 1 to 3 and you're only earning $61,692, you shouldn't accept the job anyway. It's too low. All right. We'll advise you on that. Clearly, we've got our relocation division, and Liz and her team will advise you on that and what your salary expectations should be. And that's clearly based on knowledge. So take a screenshot of that. Now, this is Green List Tier 1. So you've got the job offer. You've worked with us, and I'm being presumptuous, but you've worked with us. We've worked as a team, and you've prayed you've got the job offer offshore. But if not, you've flown to New Zealand on a visitor's visa to look for work, and you've got the job offer while you're there. Okay, 1 or 2. I'll talk about that in a minute. All right. If you are on Green List Tier 1, i.e. the occupation you have and the qualifications you have are one of these occupations, and I'm assuming you're taking a screenshot of that, then your pathway to residency is extremely straightforward. As long as the job offer and your qualifications and the process, of course, in submission meet the Green List Tier 1 requirements. Construction, engineering, health and social services, IT, and these have so, excuse me, one other, where am I here? There we are, Green List Tier 1. We've done that. Why won't it shift? Green list tier 1. Green list tier 1. That one. Okay, so these were added. These have been added to green list tier 1s. Most of them in health, as you can see. Social workers, pharmacists, physiotherapists. By the way, we've got a standing order for occupational therapists at the moment, and physios. So if you're one of those occupations, please contact us immediately. And if you're a refrigeration air conditioning mechanic, please also contact us. We've got a standing order for them at the moment as well. So send us your CVs because we can get you placed quite quickly. So if you're on green list tier 1, you've got a choice. You can lodge a work visa, which you lodge, processed, you get a 5-year work visa, and then you land in New Zealand and you can do your residency application anytime you want. Okay, or you can bypass the work visa and lodge a residency visa straight away because you're on green list tier 1. That is an advantage with being on green list tier 1, as long as you meet the requirements, etc., for green list tier 1, as I have just mentioned. Okay, then green list tier 2. Some trades, of course, health and social services, agriculture, etc., green list tier 2. If you're on green list tier 2, this is the old work to residence visa. Remember, you get a 5-year visa. Even when you're on a work visa in New Zealand, provided the work visa is full-time, i.e. it's not 2 years or under, you'll still be eligible for free schooling and you'll still be eligible for healthcare. So if you're on green list tier 2, you get a 5-year visa, and after 2 years of working in your occupation in New Zealand, you can then lodge residency after 2 years, okay? And then these were supposed, these occupations here were supposed to be added to green list tier 2 now. In fact, last month, and they haven't been. Extremely disappointed about that, and I tell you why. We've been advised over a year ago that they were these occupations are going to be added to green list tier 2, especially people like panel beaters, fitters, welders, pressure metal fabricators, etc. And the minister announced that these will not be added to green list tier 2. Okay, and I know I'm going to be lobbying the minister, and I guarantee you other immigration agents a lot. I've actually already press F5. What's F5? Sorry. Rowan, I'm pressing S5. I'm not even sure what you're asking me, mate. I'll give you a call. Hold on. What are you asking me to do?
Just to make the presentation full screen.
It is full screen.
Is that a button? No, it's not full screen for us.
Okay, well.
In the corner of the presentation, there should be a little button you can hover over. Close to the minus bottom right.
Okay, what's that? That's gone to smaller screen, right?
Oh, it's the same for us. I'm not sure why it's not going full screen for us.
And now full screen?
Not yet. There's a slight delay, but no, it doesn't look like it.
Well, then I don't know what's wrong, mate. It's showing full screen on my second computer here.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's wrong with that. Okay.
But I mean, yeah, well, it just basically means, hold on, are you talking on my laptop or the spare laptop, or the spare screen I'm using?
I'm not sure which one the presentation's on, but for us, in the chat, it's not full screen.
Okay, can you see it? That's the spare screen. That's my main screen.
Okay, so just hover in the bottom right corner.
Yeah.
PowerPoint. Yeah, that button there. If you press it.
It says slideshow.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
I'm doing.
Can you press?
Is that it?
Okay, that's full screen. Yeah, there we go. We're full screen on the chat room now as well.
Sorry, do I need to go back a few slides?
I think it's okay.
All right. If I do, let me know.
All right.
I can't see what's in the chat room, remember? So if you just send me a message if you need me to change something.
I will.
Okay, mate. Ciao, bye.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Right. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. As you, well, it's an ongoing thing. Live, we are live. All right. So, as I said, I was quite disappointed that these aren't being added to green list here too, and I'm personally going to be lobbying the minister to actually have that decision reversed. Because I promise you, the amount of fitters and metal fabricators that I've immigrated, and panel beaters and blah blah that I've immigrated to New Zealand over the many years, There's been lots of, hundreds. So I'd be very interesting. Watch this space, okay? Right. These are some roles that are exempt from the minimum wage. Generally, these are roles, of course, on ANZCO skill level 4 to 5. As you can see there, again, take a screenshot of that. If you can, please. Thank you. And then how do you get residency? So let's just go to here. This is the way the median wage has increased in the last few years since 2018. And you'll see at the bottom there, it's $29.66 for the work visa. That was going to be increased in March to $31.61, and she canned it. She canned it in December, and therefore the work visa requirement is not at $31.61. It's still at $29.66 for an ANZCO skill level 1 to 3, or of course higher on an ANZCO skill level 4 and 5. Now, let's summarize this. Let's just pretend here you've got the job offer already. We've submitted the application and you've been granted a 5-year work visa. Yippee-yay. All right? You're now in New Zealand. How are you going to get residency? There's multiple ways. Green List Tier 1, we've already discussed. Green List Tier 2, again, we've already discussed. The other way is by making up to 6 points. And as you can see here, if you have a qualification, you're going to get points for that qualification, from a bachelor's degree right through to a doctorate. There's your points, okay? Remembering you need 6 points. By the way, that doesn't mean if you've got a doctorate, you get residency immediately. You've still got to have a job offer and work for a short period of time. She hasn't actually announced what that period of time is, but I would imagine it's as little as three months, maybe 6, okay? So if you've got a qualification, you're halfway there, if not 2/3 or 3/4 of the way there. The other way around. Anyway, when you've worked in New Zealand for a period of time, remember your initial visa is valid for 5 years. You work for 1 year, you get 1 point. 2 years, you get 2 points, and 3 years, you get 3 points. Okay. If you're earning at least 1.5 times the minimum wage, this is based on $29.66 an hour. So 1.5 times the minimum wage is $44.49 an hour, based on a 40-hour week, based on 52 weeks a year. If you're earning 1.5 times the minimum wage for 3 years, there's another 3 points. Okay. If you're earning 2 times the minimum wage, there's 4 points. If you're earning 3 times the minimum wage, there's 6 points straight away. Okay. And then if you are doing a job which requires registration, and there's hundreds of them, even if you're not registered in your current country, you can register in New Zealand if you're one of them. Clearly, these people need to be registered, but there's 6 or 7 slides here. I'm just going to go through them quite quickly. Registration, any dietitians, those type, it's pretty obvious who needs registrations. Midwives, chiropractors, nurses, etc. Pharmacists, paramedics, physiotherapists, we've already talked about them, occupational therapists, etc. Social workers, teachers, vets, surveyors, electricians, cable jointers, etc. Engineers, even block laying and bricklaying and carpentry licenses. You can all do this when you're in New Zealand working. Okay. Architects, we were talking about one earlier. I think he had a architectural technology diploma. Tradesmen, plumbers, of course. So there are ways to make up these extra 6 points. Accountants, barristers, licensed advisors, etc. This is all to do with shipping, of course. And then we come to our relocation. So I'm just going to exit this because I just want to see if there's any questions I haven't answered. And exit full screen. There we are. Right. Okay. So it has already taken 45 minutes and it normally takes about 30. But the reason is, of course, I've gone through the changes. So I just want to get back to, let's just go to this. Okay. Right. So as I mentioned, we're the one-stop shop. Okay. I'm really happy to offer all of our services to potential clients, and you might not want all of them. You might just want 1 or 2 of them. You might want all of them, and clearly we'd quote you accordingly. So I'm just having a quick look at the questions here. Des, I'm not sure if there's anything I haven't answered. I'm sure you have with Liz. And clearly, Jaden, thank you directly to you, blah, blah, blah. All righty. So what I strongly suggest now, guys, is contact us. Simple as that. Contact us and have us sit with you and take you through the processes to not only get there, but of course obtain residency when you're on shore. I had a comment earlier from one of my colleagues in the industry that thinks that there might be a few ministerial interventions coming up in the next year or three. And what that means is that people are already in New Zealand. Due to changes, they don't have a pathway to residency, but clearly they're established. Children are probably at school, they're working for a company for 3-4 years. And because of the changes, they've got no residency pathway. Well, that's not great. And clearly we will be, some of them are our clients, for example, but I will be working with all of my clients to make sure that we have a potential residency pathway for them in the next 1 month to 2 years. Because I do believe that the Right Honourable Erica Stanford is very logical and is very transparent when it comes to the decisions that have been made. I'm not 100% agreeing with a couple of them. I do love the latest decision, which hasn't come out as well, where children that have already matriculed are potentially now from the middle of this year going to be given an open work visa, so they can go to work if they don't want to study. That's a fantastic one. So I think there's going to be some really positive changes, and I do think that there's going to be some tweaking necessary on things like, of course, as I talked earlier, Boilermakers, fitters and turners, because New Zealand wants them. It's as simple as that. Okay, so I'm going to finish the consultation now. I just wanted to say thank you to Ruan again. I'm sorry for the technical problems tonight, ladies and gentlemen, but clearly it just shows that I'm human, and we are definitely live. And as you know, our emails are our first names: Andrew@networkmigration.com, Desiree@networkmigration, and so on. So if you've got any questions or queries, please don't hesitate to contact me and or Des, especially if you're in New Zealand, of course. Contact Desiree because she's there in your time zone and is legally able to give you the advice. And I just wanted to say a genuine thank you to my team for working through these difficult processes and times when rules and regulations change, and they do quite regularly. I'm really proud of the fact that we jump on it immediately, and our clients within a 24 to 48 hour scenario window are fully aware of the changes and understand them. And we are always there for our clients, and we make sure that we'll hold their hands through the entire process. I'm proud of what we do, ladies and gentlemen. I really enjoy what I do. So I just want to say thank you for attending the webinar tonight. And if you want to have a further consultation with me, remember they are no cost to you, and just contact me on my email address, andrew@networkmigration.com, to chat further. I hope I've gone through everything. Des, I'm sure you would have told me if I haven't. I possibly missed a few things. Once again, thank you to Des, thank you to Ruan, thank you to Liz, and thank you to my team who aren't listening to me tonight. But Des, I'll chat to you in 12 hours in our weekly meeting. Thank you so much.